How often do you make telephone calls?
I make at least 5 to 6 phone calls every day, but the number of calls can certainly go up depending on my activities and location. I have to make these calls as I live far away from my friends and family. Besides, I also have to make phone calls to my coworkers since my job involves a lot of traveling, both inside and outside of the city where I live in.
Who do you spend the most time talking to on the telephone?
I spend most of the time talking with my family members while talking on the phone, mainly because I live far away from my family in a different city, and also because I have made it a priority of my life to remain in touch with my parents and siblings under any circumstances in order to let them know that I am safe and fine.
When do you think you'll next make a telephone call?
I will make the next phone call to my parents' house right after finishing this IELTS test in order to let them know how I did in the test.
Do you sometimes prefer to send a text message instead of telephoning?
Yes, I do prefer to send text messages sometimes instead of telephoning because I am either caught among a crowd with a lot of noise around me to talk clearly, or I am just too tired or busy to talk.
Why do people need to travel every day?
People need to travel every day mostly because of their job or work. Everyday travel is also necessary when attending schools or universities. Besides, if we need to see some important family members of ours living within a reasonable travel distance because they require our daily attendances for some reasons, such as sickness, we would also need to travel on a daily basis.
People can have what problems when they're on their daily journey, for example, to work or school? Why is this?
People can face a number of problems when traveling on a daily basis. They can get stuck at traffics for a long period of time and become late for their schools or works. They can also be forced to become involved in an unfortunate accident when trying to hurry in their private vehicles or hurrying in order to board a bus or train. Sometimes people may also lose something valuable because of their carelessness when traveling on a daily basis. Besides, some people can fall asleep also and miss their destination if they are stuck in traffics for too long.
Some people say that daily journeys like these will not be so common in the future. Do you agree or disagree? Why?
I agree that the daily journeys like these will not be so common in the future because things are changing so rapidly in this world that while some of these kinds of daily travels may not be so common for certain purposes, such as works or schools. However, in the future, we won't be surprised if we find that there are suddenly some other reasons for which we would need to travel every day. For example, a group of people, like students, can certainly take courses online courtesy to the internet and information technology without ever needing to travel anywhere. But the chances are that another group of people, like network engineers, traveling somewhere else every day to actually ensure that the students receive those services uninterrupted every day.
What do you think people can learn from traveling to other countries? Why?
Today, we live in a world which is like a global village where we are in need of connecting with each other more than ever before because of economic and cultural reasons. So when we travel to other countries, we develop a better understanding of their traditions, cultures, and lifestyles. And the better understanding we have about others, the easier will it get for us to connect with each other in some common interests. Traveling to other countries opens our hearts and eyes to respect others' values and opinions, which are absolutely important in order to free our world from ignorance, hatred, and animosities.
Can travel make a positive difference to the economy of a country? How?
Yes, travel can make a positive difference to the economy of a country by encouraging and developing the tourism industry of that particular country. As more and more tourists will visit a particular country in order to learn and enjoy its culture and national heritage, the more foreign remittance, businesses, and employment opportunities they would usually bring for the host country by diversifying its economy. Besides, tourism also helps build positive images for a country. And the more positive image a country has, the more large-scale investment it attracts from economic superpowers of the world in order to improve its overall economy.
Do you think a society can benefit if its members have experience of traveling to other countries? In what ways?
Traveling to other countries will almost inevitably open up the doors of new ideas and opportunities. So I do think that a society can benefit if its members have experience of traveling to other countries, as they can pretty much act like some connecting bridges between their cultures and those of others, in order to help each other understand and appreciate even better. Besides, society members with traveling experience can always learn new ways of thinking and doing things, whenever applicable, from other countries so that they can implement those same things in their own country also, in order to improve the lives of their fellow citizens.
What kinds of flowers and plants grow near where you live?
Our country has a wide variety of flowers, and it would take researchers months to list and talk about them all. Here, however, I would like to mention the names of a few common flowers that grow in my hometown. They are tulips, jasmine, lotuses, roses, orchids, daisies, iris, and sunflowers. Many plants grow well in our neighborhood, including coconut trees, palm trees, mango trees, different flower plants, guava trees, flame trees, and cherry trees. I believe that it has something to do with the local weather and soil that favor those trees and flowers to grow in abundance in our area.
Is it important to you to have flowers and plants in your home?
It is quite a common trend for many people in my country to decorate their homes with flowers when they have a special occasion to celebrate. Had flowers been cheaper, many of us would like to have them every single day. People have flowers on special occasions in their homes because flowers are the symbol of beauty, devotion, purity, and freshness. They also enhance the appeal of the house and make it look more beautiful. In my hometown, like most other places in my country, except for a few metropolitan cities, there are hardly any houses that do not have some sort of plants or trees. Having plants is important to protect the house from storms, thunder, and other natural calamities, while also getting fruits, flowers, or other benefits from the trees.
Have you ever bought flowers for someone else?
I can recall at least 100 occasions when I bought flowers for someone as a gift or a token of good wishes. Last month, I attended the marriage ceremony of a relative, and on that day, I bought a bouquet and an electronic item as gifts for them. A few months ago, I visited a sick friend at her house when I bought a few roses of different colors for her.
What kinds of things do people write online reviews about in your country?
People in my country pretty much write reviews about all sorts of products and services. When it comes to writing reviews about hotels, a place, or food, many people seem to have something to say. In particular, when people visit a different city or a country and stay there for a couple of days, they often review the hotel they stay in and share their experiences of food and famous tourist spots. They are also very active in writing reviews about fashion items, dresses, electronic items, jewelry, and shoes, to name a few.
Why do some people write online reviews?
I believe some people are active when it comes to sharing their experiences with a service or a product. These people share both their positive and negative experiences. Some might write reviews to let their relatives and friends know that they visited a place or did something interesting. For them, writing reviews is a secondary motive, while letting others know that they had been traveling or buying something is the primary reason. Finally, some people go online and write reviews only when they are very dissatisfied with something. They intend to warn people about the possible downside of a product or service and become vocal about their frustrations.
Do you think that online reviews are good for both shoppers and companies?
Yes, I believe that online reviews are useful for both customers and businesses. As consumers, many shoppers first read honest reviews by real customers before deciding to buy something or visit a place. It gives them the real impression of the product or service that they are planning to have. Since vendors advertise their products and services as superior in quality, real customer reviews can often give us the real picture. Except for some dishonest merchants whose intention is to make more profit from low-quality products, online reviews are very useful for real merchants and vendors. They allow businesses to get insights into customer opinions and expectations, which is essential to improve their products and service quality to win new customers and retain existing ones.
Do you think it might be like to work in a customer service job?
I think working in a customer service job is both challenging and rewarding. On one hand, it requires excellent communication skills, patience, and the ability to stay calm under pressure, especially when dealing with difficult or frustrated customers. However, it can also be a great learning experience, particularly in terms of developing interpersonal skills and problem-solving abilities. For example, helping a dissatisfied customer and turning their negative experience into a positive one can be quite fulfilling. Over time, it can build confidence and teach valuable lessons in empathy, conflict resolution, and teamwork. So overall, while it might be demanding, a customer service job can also provide important life and career skills that are transferable to many other professions.
Do you agree that customers are more likely to complain nowadays?
I do believe that modern people have become more conscious of their rights as consumers. Online platforms also allow them to connect with other consumers they do not know personally, and hence learn about their opinions. Finally, the range of options for them to complain has also increased. For instance, they can call, email, or simply tweet their complaints. As a result, companies are getting more complaints these days. However, it doesn't mean that modern people complain more often or that the quality of products and services is not good. It simply reveals that people know their rights and are aware when and how to complain, unlike in the past when filing a complaint was a tiresome and time-consuming process which deterred many from complaining at all.
Do you think it's important for companies to take all customer complaints seriously?
If a company wants to thrive and do bigger and better business, it has to take every single customer complaint seriously. In fact, the main difference between a successful business and a failed business is how they handle complaints. A silly, sometimes even irrational complaint made by a customer reveals that that person is an existing customer and took the time and effort to lodge the complaint. Whether he or she is going to be a future loyal customer or stop using the product or service altogether depends on how the complaint is handled. And a good company always know that an angry or dissatisfied customer wouldn't just stop using their products and services, but also talk negatively to others in every possible opportunity for the rest of their lives.
When do people give gifts or presents in your country?
People in my country like to exchange gifts, whether there is an occasion for it or not. However, they love to give gifts or presents even more when people are celebrating any ceremonies like birthdays or weddings. People also love to give gifts when they celebrate the Chinese New Year.
Do you ever take a gift when you visit someone in their home?
Yes, I do take gifts with me when I visit someone because giving gifts to friends and family helps create a stronger bond among people. This is true for neighbors and colleagues as well. I take the gifts with me in order to show that I actually value and appreciate their presence in my life and am thankful for their love and help.
When did you last receive a gift?
I actually feel lucky to be one of those people who receive gifts from their friends and family members. The last time I received a gift was several months ago when my elder brother gave me a beautiful smartphone, which he purchased when visiting a foreign country.
Do you enjoy looking for gifts for people?
Yes, I just enjoy looking for gifts for people, in fact, so much so that I even sometimes spend the entire day looking for perfect gifts. I enjoy it so much primarily because it is just fun to be able to look at new things and new gift ideas. It even feels more satisfying when my friends and relatives ask me about what kinds of gifts to buy, as if I'm some kind of gift expert.
Why do you think some people like doing new things?
It is just in our human nature to try out new things. Some people try out new things just for the fun of it, while others like doing new things because they genuinely want to help out their fellow human beings by discovering or inventing something completely new. Then there is another group of people who like to try new things simply because they are just too bored with doing the same things over and over again. Anyway, whatever the reason is for which people like doing new things, they usually open up the doors for new opportunities. In fact, if we didn't like doing new things, we as the human race would still be wearing leaves of trees and eating raw meat.
What problems can people have when they try new activities for the first time?
When people try new activities for the first time, a major problem they face is that they become nervous simply because it is our human nature to fear the unknown. The next problem they probably face is that they get discouraged by their so-called well-wishers not to try out anything new. But even if we cross this first hurdle, the next thing we worry about is whether we will be able to do them properly or not, just the way they are supposed to be done. But then, when we finally do try the new activities after crossing all the hurdles, the chances are we will fail. And once we fail, we will probably give up trying new activities, which is, of course, a worst case scenario.
Do you think it's best to do new things on your own or with other people? Why?
Well, it depends on what we are trying, but I think that it is best to do new things with other people, mainly because they will probably be able to guide us from the very start to ensure our success. But in case we fail, we won't probably feel so bad and embarrassed since there is a chance that somebody else has also failed. Besides, trying new things together with other people won't make us feel as nervous as we would have tried it alone in case we need help.
What kinds of things do children learn to do when they are very young? How important are these things?
As very young children, the first things they learn are smell and taste, followed by recognizing speech and faces as they grow up further. By the time a toddler is 2, his or her language skills are at peak and start to pick up bits and pieces of conversations from their fathers, mothers, and siblings. By the age of 5, children start to learn reading, throwing and catching a ball, drawing images, and writing their names neatly. By the age of 7, they learn how to ride a bicycle as well as learn how to become competitive. Whatever the children learn when they are very young prove to be very important for their proper cognitive development, which is remembering, problem solving, and decision making from childhood through adolescence to adulthood.
Do you think children and adults learn to do new things in the same way? How is their learning style different?
There are fundamental differences between the way children learn and adults learn. Children depend on adults to learn something, while adults usually learn through a self-learning process without necessarily depending on others. While children, in principle, are open to the idea of learning pretty much anything, adults mostly choose to learn what they think is relevant to their lives. Finally, while children treat learning as their first job and priority, adults think of learning as a secondary thing to their careers and families in general.
Some people say that it is more important to be able to learn new things now than it was in the past. Do you agree or disagree with that? Why?
I do agree with it when somebody says that it is more important to learn new things these days than it was in the past, mainly because life in general has become much more difficult and competitive in the modern era than in the past. For example, in the past, it was enough to have a simple graduation degree in any subject and get a respectable job. But now, even a doctoral degree in a very demanding subject isn't even enough to get even a very simple job in some cases. Besides, these days we demand more from our lives as opposed to what we demanded in the past, which forces us to come up with new ideas and opportunities to make our lives more comfortable. And without learning new things, it is just not possible to create new opportunities for ourselves as well as for others.
How popular are bicycles in your hometown?
If I talk about the time when I was a child, the bicycle was the primary means of transportation for people in my hometown. However, this is not the case nowadays as motorized vehicles have replaced bicycles to a great extent. Around only 5 to 8% of people these days in my hometown use this environmentally friendly vehicle, while it was more than 70% in the past.
How often do you ride a bicycle?
Honestly speaking, these days I scarcely ride a bicycle and mostly use my car. I used to be very fond of riding a bicycle in my teenage years, but after I started working in a different city, I was forced to buy a car to commute to and from my work. Moreover, as we get used to driving a car, bicycles seem less appealing and convenient.
Do you think that bicycles are suitable for all ages?
Yes, I do believe that bicycles are suitable for all ages. The physical activity that a cyclist does is beneficial for their health, and this is perhaps the most environmentally friendly transportation in the world. There's no age restriction for commuting using a bicycle, I believe.
What are the advantages of a bicycle compared to a car?
Well, first of all, a bicycle is eco-friendly and does not harm the environment the way motorized vehicles do. Furthermore, it is cheap and does not require a high maintenance cost per month. Moreover, bicycle riding involves physical movement and it helps us maintain good health. Finally, this type of transport does not cause much traffic congestion, unlike automobiles.
What are some of the ways people can help others in the community? Which is most important?
I believe being friendly and having a generous mentality is something every community member expects from others. An ideal community member should stand beside other members when needed and abide by the rules. Sometimes people in a community face obstacles and natural calamities, and a good member would always extend his or her helping hands to others. Being part of activities like cleaning the streets, taking part in charity programs, and doing voluntary works is another great way to show support for the community. I believe abiding by the rules and having respect towards other community members are the most important qualities.
Why do you think some people like to help other people?
I think many people enjoy helping others because it gives them a sense of purpose and emotional fulfillment. Knowing that you've made a positive difference, no matter how small, can be incredibly rewarding. For some, it's also tied to moral or religious values. In addition, helping others often leads to a stronger sense of community and belonging. For example, people who volunteer regularly tend to develop deeper social bonds and feel more connected to the place they live in.
Some people say that people help others in the community more now than they did in the past. Do you agree or disagree? Why?
I would say I partially agree. On one hand, with the rise of social media and digital platforms, it's now easier than ever to raise awareness, organize community events, and contribute to charitable causes. Crowdfunding, online petitions, and virtual volunteering have all opened up new avenues for helping others that didn't exist a generation ago. However, in the past, especially in smaller or rural communities, helping others was often a natural part of everyday life. Neighbors supported each other without needing formal structures or publicity. So, while the methods may have changed, the spirit of helping has remained fairly consistent. I believe it just looks different now.
What types of services, such as libraries or health centers, are available to the people who live in your area? Do you think there are enough of them?
Well, the community I come from has numerous facilities for its members. We have 2 large public libraries, 1 free medical checkup center, 3 sports centers, a fair price shop, cleaning service, complaint board, evening school, and many such mentionable good services, including the necessary community amenities like a playground, park, convention hall, and so on. I believe those facilities need more expansion as the number of community members has increased significantly these days compared to the past.
What groups of people generally need the most support in a community? Why?
People who are economically less fortunate need more community services. Besides, elderly people, women, and children often need various support from the community they live in. I believe people with less per capita income often find their lives challenging and cannot support important things in their lives. For instance, some people near my town cannot afford warm clothes during the winter, and they need help from other community members. Children and women are often subject to domestic violence or discrimination, and they need to turn to the community for help. Elderly people need companions, caregivers, and some facilities for them, and they need support from the community as well.
Who do you think should pay for the services that are available to the people in a community? Should it be the government or individual people?
I firmly believe that the government should bear the primary responsibility for funding community services. These services, like libraries, clinics, and shelters, are fundamental rights, not luxuries, and ensuring equal access is part of a government's duty to its citizens. Having said that, individuals can still contribute, whether through volunteering, fundraising, or donations, but relying solely on public contributions can lead to inconsistent and unequal services. A tax-funded, government-managed approach ensures that support is consistent, regulated, and fairly distributed, regardless of location or income level.
What type of photos do you like taking?
I mostly enjoy taking genuine shots of people and everyday moments. I feel like those photos capture more emotion and authenticity than posed ones. I also like taking photos of interesting landscapes. I love taking those pictures because they're calming and beautiful to look back on. Moreover, they also create good memories of a place or occasion.
What do you do with photos you take?
Well, at first, I sort out the photos worth saving for the future, and then I delete the snapshots I do not like. I have a Flickr account, which is the most popular online photo sharing and cloud storing platform, and I upload the photos I select for saving. I share some photographs on my Facebook and Instagram accounts. A few years ago, I used to print the pictures I liked the most, but I don't do that these days.
When you visit other places, do you take photos or buy postcards?
I usually take photos rather than buy postcards. This is perhaps because it feels more personal and meaningful to have pictures that I've taken myself. Postcards are nice, but are less common these days. Moreover, taking my own photos allows me to capture moments exactly the way I experienced them, and not the way how a postcard selling company has decided.
Do you like people taking photos of you?
This is a hard question for me to answer, and I will be completely honest here. I mostly do not allow others to take random photos of me. However, if I find that there's a group of people who expect me to be in the frame and they think that I should be in that photograph, I do not oppose it. However, my usual doctrine for letting others capture my photo is not applicable to my daughter. Whenever she's ready to take a shot, I obey her order.
What types of weather do people in your country dislike most? Why is that?
In my country, people usually dislike extreme heat the most, especially during the summer. It can get really uncomfortable and exhausting, and many people struggle to concentrate or work properly in such conditions. Many people also dislike heavy rainfall and sudden flooding, especially in urban areas, because such weather conditions disrupt daily life and transportation.
What jobs can be affected by different weather conditions? Why?
In my personal opinion, several jobs can be affected due to different weather conditions. For instance, construction workers and farmers are heavily affected by weather. Rain or storms can delay projects or damage crops. Transport workers, like delivery drivers or pilots, also face difficulties in bad weather because it affects visibility and safety. Even outdoor event planners need to watch the weather closely to avoid last-minute cancellations.
Are there any important festivals in your country that celebrate a season or type of weather?
Yes, in Canada, we have several festivals that celebrate the changing seasons. For example, the Winterlude Festival in Ottawa celebrates winter with ice sculptures and skating events. There's also the Fall Fair in many towns that welcomes the autumn harvest. These festivals are not just seasonal, they reflect cultural traditions and help people enjoy the beauty of each season despite the weather challenges. That's why we celebrate them with great enthusiasm and interest.
How important do you think it is for everyone to check what the next day's weather will be? Why?
The weather greatly affects the daily routine and schedule of each individual. From a schoolboy to a corporate employee, everyone has plans for the next day, and if proper preparation is not taken based on the weather forecast, the day may simply be ruined. This is why everybody should look at the weather forecast for the next day and prepare accordingly. I myself regularly check the weather prediction in AccuWeather, an online weather forecasting application, and plan my days ahead.
What's the best way to get accurate information about the weather?
These days, reliable and large weather forecasting service providers are the best source for this. AccuWeather, CNN Weather, and BBC Weather are some of the most reliable weather forecasting service providers that cover almost every city and country in the world for offering their service. With the widespread popularity of smartphones, many authentic applications have emerged to provide this service as well. Weather forecasting news on TV channels are also reliable, but they are less convenient to follow, in my opinion.
How easy or difficult is it to predict the weather in your country? Why is that?
Well, it is not that difficult these days, and many solid predictions of storms and disasters have saved countless people in recent years. However, it was not that easy decades ago when the weather forecasting department had to rely on primitive devices. With the advancement of satellite and computer technology, this has become easier and more accurate. Having said that, I must mention that it is still a prediction and not something 100% accurate.
Do you have a favorite flower or plant?
As a grade 1 child, perhaps at the age of 6, when I learned that plants give us oxygen, without which our existence would be impossible, I learned to love them. And when it comes to my favorite plant, it has to be coconut plants. We had these tall plants at our grandparents' house, and I have many loving memories surrounding these plants, like making toys with their leaves, waiting to devour the refreshing water of green coconut, and so on. Different foods and delicacies are made from coconuts, which I also enjoy a lot.